So it's controlling your expectations when you do that deciding. So I would ask you, when you leave here and go in the pouring rain back to your home or office or wherever you're headed, to jot down, where do I want to be in 3 years? And where, you know, it's not a place, right? It's a mental thing. What do I want to be doing? How do I want to see life? What do I visualize my work life to look like in 3 years? And if you put that in an envelope and you tuck it in your files or in a lockbox or in your safety deposit box, by writing that down in 3 years, you will have come closer to it than if you had not written it down. It's just a fact of life. That the minute we declare something, we inerringly start moving towards it. I don't know why. It's just human nature. But it's something worth thinking about. I have 30-something years in the Air Force. I have decided lots of point Bs in my life, in my career. I have decided that, oh, no, I don't want that one. I think this one's better. For a while, I thought that one was better. You know what I mean by this? Way reaching out. No, not so much. I've decided a lot of different points, but deciding is the key. Will you promise me to write something down? Yeah, good. And put it away, give it to your husband or your friend, and say, let me look at it in a year. You will find that that will motivate you by just writing it. So, that's all I had to say, but I'm most willing to listen to questions or thoughts about careers or about anything else. Okay.
You talk about removing obstacles, and there's a lot of talk of, death versus breath, and but then also the mentality that a civilian is often the continuity and needs to be the expert in their job. So is it possible as a civilian that you can get too much breath, and we've seen, I don't know of another word other than job hopping, or is there a balance there, or how do you see that, or how do you see that?
I've looked at thousands of career briefs. Naturally, they took career briefs away, but now it's resumes. And I can pretty much tell within 5 minutes whether I have a job hopper. If I see a year here, a year there, a year here, a year there, bounce back to the original office, you can tell. You all know it intuitively. Yeah, she won't settle down, or she's always looking for something else, or she's never happy. You can see it in the resume. But 3 years, 2.5 years, that's not job hopping, that's just getting some width. Not that we all need width, but you know what I mean. So I don't see that as a problem. I see, when I see somebody who's been in a job for 20 years, then I also have a set of things that go on about in that. Well, they're very deep in that area. Am I looking for that area? Because if I'm looking for some other area, that won't show me flexibility. It'll show me this, which is this big, right? So, yeah, job hoppers, it shows pretty quickly. But if they spend 2 to 3 years in a job, then great, that's fine. Other thoughts? What's on your mind?
I have a question. I'm a civilian here, obviously, but also a reservist. I frequently get asked when I go on my annual tours, especially now with the drawdowns, foreshaping, and everything else, by my active duty colleagues, I think I'm going to get out or get forced out. How do I get into the GS system? I've been here for 10 years, 15 years in uniform. What's the best way to break into the GS system? I never quite know how to answer it because I've never I'm a reservist. What advice do you give someone who's trying to break in, especially nowadays when it's so difficult for everyone.
Well, I love the term, and I actually got asked this question at lunch. A officer came up to me and said, I'm getting out. And she used that same word, break in. I always feel like, a robber is coming in and wants to break in.
Sorry.
But no, it's often used. Let me just say this, and I'll get my personal bias out of the way. It's in my mind, the civilian career fields, the civilian service is not something you can break into. You can apply, and there are many ways to become a civil servant. But I perceive, and you can correct me, when I hear break-in, and hopefully y'all know what I mean by that, is here's the civil service, which is 1 through 15. When I hear break-in, I perceive here. Break in, line, break in the middle, break in, not start. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to start. I started as GS2, quite frankly, as GS16, and when I was 16 years old, summer hire. So they don't want to break into a GS2, do they? Not even close. They don't even want to break into a 7. They want to break in, like people who were cutting in line at the airport yesterday. They did. Break in, yeah? Y'all know what I mean by that? And I don't think that it's a break-in kind of situation. You qualify as a civil servant. What they're looking for is some secret handshake to break in up here. And so the civil service system is pretty open to applications, OPM websites, all of that. Now you tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm perceiving that they want to know how to cut in.
Probably, yeah.
So that I'm not so interested in. Make your resume qualify and get merit. That's what I would suggest, is that, can you imagine, I want to break in as a chief. I want to break in as a lieutenant colonel. That's how that hits me, and it kind of hits me wrong. Could you tell? Your qualifications will get you where you deserve to be, so you don't break in line. Your qualifications, so hopefully they have wonderful qualifications which will be credited out at the level that you deserve based on merit. That's how I look at it. Sure. Yes.
I can probably add something to that.
Okay.
I was active duty Air Force for 7 years.
And did you break in?
I qualified.
There you go. Now we're talking.
I was picked up by 21st TSC in Germany as a GS 11. Did that for a while and then worked for DLA, and now I'm a 12 year. So I qualified.
That's the, and maybe what we need to help them, it's this whole thing of like there's some magic code to be unlocked and somebody to help us unlock it. And the point is, you qualify based on merit and your qualification.
And I applied for jobs for 14 months.
Yes, it's not easy.
It was a year of applying for jobs. Was a full-time job.
Sure.
And so just think, oh, we just apply for a dummy job now.
Yeah.
It's
That's that
full-time
break
job.
it in.
Exactly.
So we need to help. We're the civilians in the room. We need to help people understand it's not a magic key to a magic door that some supervisor can magically help unlock for you. It's qualifying and hard work, because none of us got here without work. And we didn't break in, we qualified, we deserved our promotions, and we are where we are because of merit. So maybe we just need to work on that for our military brethren. or I'll slap the crap out of some, oh, don't take that. What else?
Censored.
Yes.
As someone just coming into the GS system, is there any suggestions you have for us looking for jobs and how to move up more efficiently? Obviously with merit and learning a job and, rec and things like that. But any suggestions?
I do. I think there's a few things that you can do, if you're willing. It's always that, remember those 2 points. And one is to learn everything you can. And it sounds very easy, but I have people, I'll tell my folks, I've got about 300 people that work for me. They're welcome to attend staff meeting, my staff meeting with my division chiefs, my 06s. They're welcome to go to my headquarters staff meeting. They're welcome to any meeting unless they walk in and I say, I'm sorry, this is about personnel, you can't stay, but try. So learn everything you can. Ask why, without being a pain in the neck. I mean, there are always times. But you'd be surprised at how it's like that whole, what I said about decide. It's like how everybody jumps over to the, and I want to be the promoted. So learn everything you can is the first step, and prove that you're worthy. So people want to come to you for info. Now that's tricky, do you know somebody in your area where if you've got a question, ask Hal, he knows. Or he's willing to help you find out. Be one of those people. Then, after you learn everything you can, then start to step out. I call it leaning forward. When you see somebody, there's two kinds of people, those that lean forward and those that are back on their heels. Well, which one's ready to jump? Those that are leaning forward, ready to go. Management needs somebody to help with that, I'll do it. Volunteerism. It goes down to the trivial, setting up a picnic. I mean, I have the people who set up our picnic in my office at least 3 times. I get to know them. That sounds trivial, but it also gives you opportunities to show other skills. I mean, you might be in deployment management, but in another job of volunteering, leaning forward, you might be able to show your organizational skills, or your meeting skills, or your whatever. So being able to step out and lead the way and take initiative are all keys to success. And I think I have some cards. Do we have the little cards?
No, I have the big card.
Okay, we'll give you some things along those measures. But, if we've not done all those things, you have to prove that you're worthy of moving on before you actually get opportunities to move on. And your bosses have to want to help you. And my boss wants to help me when I am leaning forward, thinking for him and saying, what would he need? How would he need it done? What do we need to do to give him all the information to make a good decision? You'd be amazed at how many people do not think that way. They're locked down where they are, and I heard it 2 days ago. Well, it's not about me, so why should I care? The big one! It's not about me, so why should I care? Well, is it about the human race? You might care because of that. Is it about your boss? You might care because of that. Is it about national security? You might care because of that. You see what I'm saying? Does that help? Yes?
Have you seen, or throughout your career, a lot of the hiring controls, the hiring freezes, so that the opportunities and the timing and things, it just seems to be less and less?
It seems that way, but it isn't that way. Does that, I know you're not.
How have you stayed motivated during this?
Who said I did? Are you sure you're taping all this? There's nothing that says I stayed at the same level of motivation my entire career. You can't stay at 100%. What happens when you run an engine at 100%? It burns out right in the middle. So there's always speeds that we have to moderate a bit. But I can remember when I came in, there was a freeze on promotions. Well, I was supposed to get an automatic promotion and they froze it. I was 21 years old. I didn't know I was gonna make my rent. Then when I got to be a GS-12, they said there's a freeze on any new fills. And there was a 13 in my office I thought was mine, and then they froze it. So, I mean, it happens all the time. What are the 3 things that you can't control? You cannot spin your wheels over those, because that will end up impacting you. And if you let it impact you, those uncontrollable variables have won. And they override being your best, which is your controllable variable. And if you mess with being your best, when the controls come off, who is management looking to take care of? So you can't let it impact what you are. Remember I said work bleeds to home, home bleeds to work? If you let it affect who you are and what you can provide as a service to your customer, because there's freezes or Vera Visas or BRACs or all of that. I sold a house because I thought we were gonna get BRAC'd. And of course we didn't, and then I had no place to live. A little premature, just a little. You just have to let that go and say, am I doing everything I can do? And will I be able to sleep at night and feel good about my contribution? Have I made a difference? And the rest will fall where it may. You have absolutely no control about force, size, Vera Visa, drawdown, political decisions. None of those things are within your control. You have control over being your best. And I know that sounds trite, but it's the only thing that will last. Others, thoughts, questions? Well, Jenna came up with the idea, but I really thought that it's extremely important as well for you to know that I have been in the overseas environment with the challenges. I can remember when I was at Youth Safety, I was GS 13, and they announced that there was going to be an officer's call on this date, and there was going to be an NCO call on this date, and I went, what about the civilians? But we're sometimes forgotten. I wanted to make sure you knew that if I'm anywhere in the neighborhood, I always want to talk to the civilians, because we may be occasionally forgotten, but we are essential. So make sure you carry that in your heart when you're doing your work, because it comes through loud and clear. Yes? That was my big wrap up. Now you destroyed it. Can't you take that again? Go ahead.
Have you heard anything about the next 4 rounds of cuts? Have you heard anything from your level as to what we can expect, or?
See that again, that's one of those uncontrollable things, but they're gonna be bad. How's that feel? Not so good. They're gonna be bad, and you know what? You're gonna continue to do your job, and it's up to you how you do your job. And remember what I said to this young lady about leaning forward, taking initiative, and stepping out? If you can do that in the environment of cuts, you become so valuable to the enterprise. I've heard this all my career of how do I lose motivation. I remember when I was young and I said, well, I just am waiting for us to stop changing. Oh my goodness. How's that working? We're never going to stop changing. There is no such thing. Everything is moving parts. And if you become valuable for yourself, you know that your contribution is strong. You know that you add value. You know that you make a difference. That also transmits to your organization, your boss. Now, if I have two people, one who gives incredible value in change and one who is resistant of change, going back to my 4 theories, which one has an obstacle? Of course. And if you were in on a desert island, who'd you pick? You'd pick this guy. Because that's what leadership is looking for, and it's just like human interactions, just like friends. You're looking for somebody who's not whining. You know, let's get on with it. I tell you, I can't say how long I just now figured out that work is just like home. You know, with your kids, with budget, with limited resources, it's just home. You deal with all of the same things, and you either deal with it with a happy heart, that sounds trivial, but I mean it, with gladness in your heart, or you deal with it grudgingly, and you'd really rather be just closed up watching TV. They're very similar. How you deal with one is often how you deal with another. So deal with it with a spirit of, how do I make this work? Sounds so trivial, doesn't it? It sounds like I'm going to be an infomercial, but it does really hold true. I look back at my career, and it's been long, so long. I look back at my career, and the moments that I had incredible success were not the moments I was focused on the career. It's like finding a guy. Sorry, men. It's like finding a guy. When you're looking, you don't find it, career happiness. When you let it go and just focus on living, focus on working. I just realized, darn, I shouldn't have said that. You know, it's like finding a puppy. That doesn't quite work. But when you, seriously, when you focus on only the journey, the destination that you had thought about comes to you. And work is just exactly that way. So don't worry about the cuts, because what are you going to do about it? And if I said, oh yeah, it's going to suck so much bad, oh hard, you know, what is that going to do for you? Nothing, other than maybe make you not sleep. It's just not, and I worry about nuclear security. That's what I worry about. And after I've been out here with your folks out there, I can sleep tonight because I just met a bunch of fabulous folks, cops, maintainers, support staff that are taking the mission seriously, are making a difference. That's what you want. And you should all feel good about that and your contribution to it. Does that answer your question? Okay, I've kept you long enough. Any last thoughts? I'll stick around if you have any individual questions. And we've got some sheets that I kind of like to use. It's up to you. You don't have to take one. We'll put them by the door, talking about defining your career. Okay? All right. Y'all take care. Have a good evening.
Thank you.